Another question that I recently received deals again with dreams. And the question is fairly straightforward and simple. The question is, can bad dreams be a purging of karma? Can bad dreams be a purging of karma? I think to a degree that's possible. Um, in the same way that when we meditate, as we become aware of the contents of our mind and our consciousness, as that rises to the surface, percolates out and we let it go and we're able to witness it. And again, the idea of letting it go, uh, that is one way of releasing karma. Now, the only reason we have to be cautious with this kind of statement is because it depends on what exactly is going on in your dreams and in your life and how they repeat, if they're recurring. Because certain things like traumas or post-traumatic stress disorder, things of this nature, there can be a constant reliving of extremely difficult and traumatic moments in one's life. And maybe on some level, the consistent recurrence of it is chipping away at whatever karma holds it in place. But if it's something that's recurring, that you can't shake, that is ever present within your consciousness, even the subconscious level, it may mean that there are certain aspects of your life or life experience that you have to deal with, either through counseling or similar means. And those of you who are studying Kriya Yoga with me, who have begun participation in the Kriya Yoga apprenticeship course, know that I very much am in favor of counseling. I'm very much in favor of doing one's best to deal with the traumatic situations of life before you go into the exploration of yoga. There are certain aspects of yoga which are helpful and therapeutic, but when it comes to practices such as moving towards self-realization, it is assumed that one has already organized and cleaned up the majority of their consciousness such that they're able to efficiently participate in the processes that bring about self and God realization. And the example I often give is that of trying out for a professional sports team. You don't go to a professional sports team and say, hey, I'm going to try out to play on your team, even though I was just in a car accident and I've got a broken arm and a broken leg. I'm going to use this opportunity to make my arm and my leg strong. That's not how it works. When it comes to something like a professional sports team, you've already got to be in peak fitness, excellent shape, and usually already have to have the skills related to that particular team sport before you'd be accepted into a professional sports team. And obviously there is a qualitative difference between a professional sports team and yoga practice, but in a way it's very similar in that when you come to someone to learn something like self and God realization, there is the understanding that you have already got your life organized such that you are actually able to participate in the practices that lead to self and God realization. You're not held back by those other things that need to be taken care of first. And sometimes when it comes to dreams, yes, as you're meditating, I've had this experience very often early on, the more you meditate, the more things can be revealed or released. That's why oftentimes when people start to meditate, they say they can't meditate well because their mind's going crazy and all these emotions come up, when that actually means they are meditating well. Because we're not trying to suppress anything. And when you put yourself in a calm, safe space, then all those things you haven't allowed to be digested are given that opportunity. In the same way that when people go through very traumatic life experiences, like losing a loved one or extended hospital stays or accidents and injuries or things where there's a fight or flight response where you have to be, or war, where you have to be so attentive to what's happening right now, you don't have a moment to process what's actually really going on in your life. And so what most people find is after a traumatic situation passes, they think to themselves, great, it's going to be fine right now. But what actually occurs is then that's when they hit serious anxiety or serious depression, because now the acute stressor is not there. So therefore, it's like the mind and body can look around and say, whew, what the heck did I just go through? And then all the stuff that had not been dealt with at the time comes out. So sometimes if people have been in very difficult life situations, and then they start doing things like taking care of themselves through stress management and meditation, they're putting themselves in a calm place, and then the body and mind say, all right, great, now we can deal with this stuff. Usually it comes out and maybe shifts in their mood or things of this nature as they're shaking it off. But it can occur through dreams as well, which is why it's also important to, in a way, consider yoga nidra as a way of becoming aware of one's dreams, to witness and watch the dreams and breathe through them if you can keep if you can remain lucid during that and let them go. So on one level, yes, bad dreams can be considered to a degree a purging of karma, but so are good dreams. Because remember, we're aiming to exhaust our attachment to karma, both the good and the bad. So good dreams are that way. Good dreams happen that way too. Just like when good things happen in your life, that's also an exhausting of karma. It's when you want to hang on to it and keep it around and not let anything change it, that then you're creating more karma. So it all comes down to non-attachment in this regard, which is why in the Yoga Sutras, early on it gives the description of what yoga is, the cessation and ending of fluctuations in the field of consciousness. And then what do we have? Well, then it describes, then the seer abides in the seer's own true nature. The Yoga Sutras then go on to say, otherwise, so when you're not identified with the seer or abiding in the seer's own true nature, otherwise there is conformity to definitions. And then Patanjali goes on to describe the definitions. But after the description, it says the conformity to definitions are resolved through practice of yoga and non-attachment. Practice of yoga, yogic practices, and non-attachment. So we have to put all of this into perspective when we're looking at how we're exhausting our karmas and how it relates to yoga practice.